Hey, how's it going guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be checking out something a little bit different. We're going to be taking a look at Mervils, a VR adventure for the PlayStation VR. This game came out a few days ago on the PlayStation Store. It has been out for the PC since October of 2016, but many of you, such as myself, maybe had never heard of this game before it actually came to PlayStation. So we're going to be doing a review of this game and checking out if it's actually worth the $20 it cost. So let's just jump straight into it. The first thing we need to know about the game is it plays as a classical 3D puzzle platformer. It's very nostalgic for those of you maybe from the 90s, grew up with stuff like Mario and a little bit of Zelda, I suppose you can include in there in some stages. But the main thing you're going to notice from this game is definitely a vibe from maybe a bit of Banjo-Kazooie and especially Mario 64. Even some of the sound effects sound very similar when you jump and attack a little bit. The game is divided into 4 worlds, the first one being the Greenlands, the second one Wild West, then the Arctic Isles, and finally the Paradise Cape. Each one of the worlds has its own theme. For example, if we take a quick look here at the Arctic Isles, as you probably guessed, it's going to be snowy areas. Each world is divided into 3 different levels, so if you add that up, there's a total of 12 levels to play throughout the entire game. So let's take a quick look at what it's like inside one of the levels. You get a very strong Mario vibe, like I was saying. The main objective inside each one of the levels is going to be to find all of the pages, which are the collectibles. These can be found in various different ways. Some are simply laying around, others are in chests, others we need to complete puzzles, some mini games and stuff like that, and some we get for just simply defeating certain enemies. So it really is quite fun the way you sort of go into each level and then you sort of just explore around at your own freedom. There's no particular order you need to do them in, so you do get a certain sense of freedom as you choose the order you wish to do them in. Also, we can't forget about, we do actually have a character creation system, which isn't the most amazing advanced I've ever seen. However, it is quite nice to have in this sort of game. And it doesn't end at the beginning. You can actually buy better upgrades the further you go into the game. You get gold, and with that gold you can buy better weapons and armor and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. You can go back and edit your character whenever you like. So far it's seeming like quite an amazing, nostalgic platformer. However, let's talk about some of the downside. First of all, which is definitely the worst thing, is that it's very oversimplified. Mechanical wise, as in the battles, really all it is, you can jump and you can attack. So that's pretty much it. It's very basic, and there's no sort of advanced movement system. Also, on the other hand, the story is very simplified, which personally, it's not a problem for me, but some people might find that kind of, they could have put a bit more effort in developing a bit of a story. But I do understand it's meant to be sort of a superficial, sort of nostalgic game. Typical bad guy wants to destroy the world, you're the hero, and everyone loves you pretty much for being the adventurer and helps you out any way they can. So you won't be having any headaches keeping up with the story. Now let's talk about some of the VR aspects of this game. Was it really necessary to make this game virtual reality? Absolutely not. However, I do see where those coming from. If they wouldn't have made this game VR, it probably would have just gone straight under the radar with thousands of other indie sort of nostalgic games on the come up. So it's definitely a good idea on their behalf to make this game virtual reality. So what do we actually use the VR for? For those of you who played Robot Rescue, it's very similar to that. We control our character in third person and we sort of look around. We can look freely around the world in a 360 degrees. Also, the puzzles and the mini games are where you're going to be seeing most of the use of the virtual reality on this game, which some of them are quite cool, some of them are very basic, but you get a good diversity of different puzzles which aren't too simple. Some of them are a little bit complicated. Now let's talk about another factor that isn't necessarily a downside, but it's definitely a negative in my point of view, which is in-game a lot. You'll notice when they speak to you, when the characters speak, it always feels like they're talking to a younger audience, as if the audience of the game was supposed to be anywhere between maybe 10 and 12, when I'm pretty sure most of the audience probably isn't actually that young, and some of the puzzles and that don't seem like they would be designed for that age range as far as it goes. They're not exactly difficult, but it definitely feels like the game isn't completely directed at that age range. However, when the characters speak, they do it with a very sort of obvious kind of explanation tone.
Climb the pillars to your right to get a good vantage.
Which leads me into my next point. They actually have voice acting on every single character, which, some of them aren't perfect, they aren't brilliant, but they do have voice acting, which definitely adds a nice touch into the game. So to start wrapping this up, I would say you could get a solid 6 to 8 hours gameplay out of this, which is pretty good considering it only cost 15-16 euro, which is about $20 in America, 12-13 pounds in the UK, so it's really good considering some of the other crap VR games there are out there, and the lack of amount of games for the PlayStation VR. And another thing before we end this off, I did forget to mention about the VR aspect of it. Even though it's not heavily used throughout the entire game, the fact of just being in the VR world, even if it's not used that much, it definitely feels so much more immersive than simply playing it on a normal screen, and maybe one of the reasons why it's so enjoyable. This game is a lot more fun and a lot more addictive than maybe it looks like at first sight. I was quite skeptical when I first bought the game. It's it looked very basic, and I've seen a few reviews and it really did not look too amazing. But I trusted someone's word on it and I went for it, and I can say once you put the headset on, you really will not want to take it off in a long while, as it is so nostalgic. And maybe if you're new to this sort of thing and you're not from the 90s, it can still be a lot of fun. So I would definitely recommend picking up this game. It is well worth the €15. So basing it on personal enjoyment out of the game and comparison to some of the other VR games out there for the PlayStation, I would give this game a solid 7 out of 10. I would definitely recommend picking this up, guys. So if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe for more content, and we'll see you next time.